Okay, we are now streaming.
And so okay, go ahead. We are live.
Okay. Hey, everyone. This is Bryan. I'm back with another tech episode. What we're doing today is we're talking about basic PC troubleshooting. I'm sure a lot of you have, very similar setups and questions about, what to do if things go wrong. For instance, let's say you come in and you try to turn the thing on and your system doesn't even boot up. You get nothing. Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is check your power connections. Make sure everything's plugged in, make sure everything's secure, make sure your system doesn't even boot up. You get nothing. I mean, that right there you're going to want to do is check your breakers, make sure that everything's working. If you're still having issues at that point, you may actually want to pop open your PC and check your actual physical connections. Make sure you've got two connections going to the motherboard. One's going to be 24 pin. It's going to be a long connection at the side of the motherboard. You want to make sure that's fully connected. There's also going to be another smaller one, either a 4-pin or 8-pin toward the top of the motherboard. That's going to be to your CPU. Make sure everything's solid and nicely connected. Then go ahead and try to reboot it. At that point, it should at least come on. What if you're having issues with, say, software, with the OS itself? Let's say you're running Windows 7 and you're just having some issues with the operating system. Well, one of the first things you're going to want to do is check your drivers. Driver issues are quite common. Particularly issues with your video cards. Drivers come out for those constantly, and you can run into anything from instability issues to artifacting on the screen to things just not looking right. So make sure those drivers are updated. You can go right to the manufacturer's website and download them directly and install them. If you're running an operating system, you might want to look into getting some kind of antivirus or anti-malware protection. I myself personally run AVG. It's cheap and it does a fairly good job, but there are lots of other ones out there. You've got Kaspersky, you've got Norton, you've got McAfee. So, I mean, it's always best to run some kind of antivirus software. Don't rely on just Windows Defender for your antivirus. It doesn't really do that good of a job, to be honest. You really need to run some kind of third-party antivirus software. If let's say you're just noticing that things are starting to run a lot more slowly than when you first built or you first bought the machine, you might want to take a look at your cooling situation, clean out your fans. To do that, you need to open up the machine, get one of those cans of air. I myself use this. It's not real expensive, but the great thing is you don't have to continually replace it with those cans that you just throw away. It's just a little electric air compressor. This is a Metro Data Vac. They're really, really handy. You just plug it in and hit the button and dust out your components. Fans, if the fans get bogged down, your cooling is going to suffer. So you do want to make sure that you knock out your dust. On top of that, make sure that your registry is cleaned out. There are a number of different applications that you can download to clean out your registry. And what that does is it keeps your operating system running as if it was just installed. It keeps it running fresh. Also, if you've had the system for a while and it's just not handling things the way it used to, you might want to look at upgrading your memory, upgrading your components. Memory is the number one thing you should look at. It's not really all that expensive to upgrade your memory nowadays. Well, actually, I take that back. Right now, memory's gotten really expensive. You might want to wait. prices should hopefully come down in the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 months. I think China is actually looking right now at possible price fixing, which can be a real issue. If the manufacturers are colluding and they're, inflating the prices of components, that can make things kind of difficult if you just need to, buy something quickly and install it and get things, running smoothly again. So hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll start seeing memory prices start to come down again, particularly for DDR4. Other than that, does anybody have any questions? I mean, you can feel free to hop in and ask questions, and let me know if you have anything that you'd like me to respond to. Is anybody interested in what my current setup is? Sure. Okay. Let's see here. I've got a webcam. I can go ahead and show you what I'm working with. What I've got, what I did just recently is I upgraded my case. I had just a standard ATX mid tower, and honestly, because I'm in and out of my system a lot, it was a bit too cramped. So I upgraded to a full tower, and it's given me a lot more room to work with. So this is my current system. It is a Ryzen-based system. It's a Ryzen 7 running a 1700 processor, 8-core, 16-thread at 3.8 gigahertz. It comes stock at 3. So I did some overclocking and got it up to 3.8. And at that, it pretty much does everything I need it to do. I'm running 2 sticks of 8 gig memory at 3000 megahertz. The video card is an older EVGA GTX 980 Ti. Still does everything I need it to do. The power supply is also an EVGA. The case is a Corsair full tower 780T. Does everything I need to do. As you can see, there's plenty of room now in this thing for me to work and do what I need to do. I also upgraded my my monitor. I was running just a single, let's see if I can back this up a little bit. I was running just a single 27-inch, and that really wasn't cutting it for me. That's this one up above. I can turn it on. So I was running just a single 27-inch. That's the monitor you see above there. And I upgraded to a 34-inch ultra-wide that now sits underneath it. So if I'm doing video rendering or anything like that, I can have that video up top and do all my rendering or whatever I need to do to edit it down underneath. And that's been really nice. It was on sale, had a great sale during Black Friday. Got it for just under $300, which was pretty awesome, to be honest. Any other questions?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Just
no problem.
trying to get stuff set up. Can you show me your data? Is that a data vac that you just showed earlier?
Yeah, it's
okay.
the.
I have one of those too.
Data vac. Yep.
It works really good, and you don't have to waste so much.
They're awesome.
Money on it. Yeah.
I bought the thing for like $50 like 4 years ago. I mean, I can't even imagine how much I would have wasted on those damn $10 cans of air that you get at Target or whatever. I mean, it's so much. It saves you so much money.
Yeah. I always have to take it outside in order to do it because the dust just goes flying everywhere. So why did you decide to go with Ryzen and not Intel?
Well, my main reason is that I've been an AMD user for quite some time. Pretty much since I started building computers. My first system had an Athlon 3200, and I was hooked from there. I really liked their bang to buck performance. And when they came out with the With the Ryzen platform, I was kind of hesitant at first. I really wanted to see what the reviews on it were saying, and it just I was blown away. I was really quite impressed with what AMD had done this time around. The Pile driver, which was the previous platform, was really not very good. It was pretty slow for what you were buying. And these here really took it to the next level. I mean, it competed with processors that were in the $1,000 range. That's pretty impressive for a $300 processor to be competing with something in the $1,000 range from Intel. That's quite a leap. And so, yeah, I had no problem jumping on the Ryzen bandwagon. It was a pretty easy choice for me once I saw what the reviews were. Oh, and gaming on this 34-inch has been really nice. It's not at 1440p. It's still a 1080p display, so it's not really all that taxing on my graphics card, and does a phenomenal job at making my games look really nice and very, I mean, the ultra wide is just, it's a very immersive experience. And watching movies on this thing has been really nice too.
Why not go with 4K or like a 25/6 or 2K, which is 2560 by 1440?
I looked at the 1440 monitors in the ultra wide form factor, because I've been wanting an ultra wide for a while, and they're a little bit out of my price range. They're still about $700-800 bucks. When this thing dropped down to just under 300, I jumped on it. And I've had a 1080p monitor for some time now, and just I don't really see the difference. In terms of the picture quality, it's just as good as my 27-inch 1080p panel from BenQ. So I have no problem with it. It's been great.
So I think the biggest issue that most people have is when they switch graphics cards and when they do an upgrade. Say they're going from like a NVIDIA GTX 700 series card to maybe, I don't know what the latest AMD card is, maybe an RX.
The new Vega cards.
New Vega cards.
Yeah, the new RX Vega cards. Yeah.
People always have a big problem with.
Yes.
So what do you do? I know what I do, but maybe other people.
What you want to do, particularly if you're going to a different manufacturer entirely, if you're going from NVIDIA to AMD or vice versa, you want to completely uninstall that driver and basically clean the registry. Because what happens is parts of that driver will get left behind, and when you try to install the new card, you're gonna run into issues. It's not either not going to be detected, or it's not going to work right, and you really need to clean out that driver. There's pieces behind that need to get removed in order for the new card to work properly.
Do you use a display driver uninstaller? That's what I use.
Yes, yeah, that's a good one. Display driver uninstaller is great. It'll get rid of all the remnants of the previous driver and install the new one for you completely fresh, so you won't have those issues. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I also suggest for those that are particularly into getting the most out of their hardware, join a forum. The one that I belong to is overclock.net. It's awesome. They have a lot of very knowledgeable people there that can help you if you're having just basic issues, particularly with the new platform. When I got onto the Ryzen platform, there were a number of issues. I had problems just getting my RAM to run at the rated speed, and I became, I went back into that forum, and they had a whole thread dedicated to my motherboard and how to get rid of the bugs people were having. And it was awesome. Within a couple hours, I had everything working absolutely perfectly. I mean, it was great. It's been an awesome community to belong to. So definitely belong to a forum. They're great.
I haven't been on it for a while. I do check up. I'm now like just one of those people who just read, don't really reply that often.
Yeah.
I'm also on overclock.net. Overclockers.club.com is pretty good. They're kind of small though. Hardform is also pretty good.
Hardform's another good one.
That's kind of more of a place if you
even Linus is not a bad one. He's got some good people. I belong to that one as well. I joined a number of them when I used to work for SwiftTech, just because we'd get customers who would go there and want their questions answered.
Let's see. There's a couple of others. Anantech, I remember reading their reviews. Not much for kind of like a community. A lot of smart-ish people there. Maybe too technical. I know Tom's Hardware. I think Tom's Hardware just kind of, they give some bad advice sometimes, so I don't really go there. So overclock.net, what's your tag? Mine's elk_capitan.
It's my name, Ramsly1.
All right, I'll have to look you up because it might be nice to see what you're up to too. Like I think the last time I actually posted anything was maybe in 2014. It's been a long time. But,
well, the threads I mainly monitor have to do with, of course, the Ryzen platform. I belong to my motherboard's own thread. It's the Gigabyte X370 Gaming K7. So I belong to that thread. I also belong to SwiftTech's thread because I still go on there and monitor, some of the stuff because people know me there, and I still am quite knowledgeable about a lot of their products. So I'll go there and still monitor it and answer questions. I actually joined overclock.net when I was a reviewer for motherboards.org. And I was blown away at the level of knowledge that a lot of these people had. Some of them had been in, computers and been building computers since like the mid 90s and just had such a wealth of knowledge. That's why it's important to belong to them, because you'll come across stuff that nobody else really has an answer for, and they've been doing it for so long that this stuff just kind of comes second nature to them. It's really nice to get that kind of support, particularly when you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, it's people love responding and helping people, which is great.
It is great. Yeah, it's great.
What else is there that's good for people starting out? I think definitely watching videos, joining a forum, and I think just talking with other people, if it's possible, if you can have like a group, I know like LAN gaming sessions are just kind of over now, just because everyone plays online from home. I do not suggest, however, talking to someone at Best Buy or at.
No, I will have to completely agree with that. You do not want to go. I will even say this: stay away from Fry's.
Micro Center.
Fry's, Micro Center. Stay away from those guys. Do
Geek
not go in there with your questions, because they really have no clue what they're doing. I'll give you a great example of this. I went into a Fry's. This was in Ventura. I just went in to browse and look around. I needed to pick up. I think I needed to pick up a new cooling system for the computer I had at that time, and I ran into one of the guys I worked with up at China Lake. The guy knew next to nothing about computers, and they had him working in the motherboard section. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm learning as I go. I'm like, okay, well, if I brought you in this processor, what motherboard would it go with? He had no clue, absolutely no clue. So yeah, stay away from these guys. They'll put people in areas that have no clue what they're doing and cannot answer your questions very well. The forums are really the best place to get answers to stuff like that. Or if knowledgeable people, go to them and ask them directly. You know, these big box stores really are not going to be very helpful. And I also recommend don't buy a system from them either. You're much better off building it yourself. You really are. There are a number of videos on YouTube that'll show you step by step how to do it, no matter what the platform is. They'll walk you through it. Contact me directly. I'll walk you through it. It's really not that hard.
Let's see. Did you hear that there's like 3 states have started to do a big
pushing back on net neutrality? Yeah.
Oh no, this is different. They're suing Intel.
Oh yes, even here, yes, California, New Jersey, and I think there's another one. I can't remember where the other one is, but yeah, there are 3 states that are suing Intel because of this the bug. There is a security bug that's kind of unfortunately built into Intel's processors that go back at least 10 years. It's going to be a mess. I think Intel really screwed up this time. The other piece of information that really makes this look bad is that shortly before they announced this, the CEO dropped all of his stock except the stock that he's required to have in order to be the CEO. So he dropped millions of dollars worth of their stock just before they announced this. That looks really bad. And
the stock is really, really high.
Yeah.
I was looking to see how much it would cost to invest. It's like, I think it's something crazy like $200 per share. I think AMD is at, well, I know AMD is like just under 12.
Yeah, I invested. It's going up.
Yeah.
AMD is going up.
I invested in them when they were like hitting rock bottom, like $1.16 or something like that. It was really low. And I was like, well, I think AMD is still doing great. I don't see why they're so low.
The reason why is it all comes down to perception. It really does. It comes down to perception. People perceive Intel as being the better game. And honestly, for the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years, that's been pretty accurate. Even in the server space, Intel has been the game to go to because they've had the better processors. The Opterons were really kind of crappy the last, I'd say 2 or 3 generations. The new EPYC processors, though, are absolutely unreal. To buy a processor that has 32 cores, 64 threads right out of the box, that's unbelievable. For a server chip, that's pretty amazing. That's a lot of horsepower.
Yep. And one thing that I do like, not just on their CPU side, is their graphics card side. They're not throttling back their FP64, which is double precision that NVIDIA does a lot. So one thing I do like about it, AMD, which is they make their own microprocessors and their own graphics processors.
Correct. Yeah.
Intel just kind of sticks
they just kind of rebrand them, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Do they still have their own communication method for communicating extra high speed between the CPU and the GPU?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe so. I'll have to look into that. I believe that's still the case.
I think it's been 4 years, or at least 2 years since I've done one.
Yeah. So AMD uses an APU, at least that's what it's called, and for Intel, it's an iGPU.
No, for AMD is the APU.
Yeah.
Is that different from the regular CPU?
No, well, it's kind of like embedded within the CPU.
Yeah,
so it's
right.
They have multiple flavors.
So
I did have really good luck with the one with the APU.
Yeah.
I think 7 years ago was the last time I did one of those.
Yeah.
And I was really happy with the APU's performance.
Yeah, they were pretty good. They weren't bad. I think Well, I mean, before that, they had kind of like a graphics processor within the motherboard, embedded within the motherboard. Then they got out of that and put like kind of like a graphics processor with the CPU itself. The thing about that is they weren't that good enough, and I think they spent just too much time and money on that instead of just focusing on their own discrete graphics cards.
My wife used hers exclusively for playing WoW in 2011 through 2013, and actually it performed quite well playing WoW.
Well, the new laptops that have the new AMD APUs are really quite impressive. I've seen a couple of benchmarks already that show that they really trounce Intel's offerings. And the thing is, too, what's really quite amazing about that is that Intel's running AMD onboard graphics, and they're still getting they're still losing. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I forgot what I was gonna say. Dang it, I'm sorry. I think what might be good in I mean, you probably have a good plan of what you're gonna do for each week and each show. Is maybe kind of just as a suggestion, you don't have to do it. Like, say the first half of a show, you plan a specific computer build. Like, there's specific, like when someone wants a computer, first I ask them what they can do with it.
Right.
And if they're just going to be playing games on it, basically the first choice is the graphics card, and then everything else, like figure out the budget that they have, and with their budget, what's the best graphics card they can use for their gaming needs, and then everything else just kind of falls into place. But then if they're doing stuff like they want to do streaming, they don't really need that great of a graphics card. They could use some of that more for additional storage, maybe some CPU power, and it depends on how they're streaming. For example, like for OBS, if you're streaming and you want to use your CPU processing, which gives you a little bit better visual rendering, encoding, it's you're going to use X264 type of encoding. But if you don't, I mean, it's very slight. NVIDIA encoding and eVNC X264 uses the graphics encoder, and it's really good. It's really fast. So I don't know how well AMD is doing with that with OBS. I will be testing that out kind of soon. So far, I haven't seen any bad issues, but. So it depends on what you're going to be streaming with. Sometimes you don't really care about how great this is. What I'm doing right now is using the NVIDIA encoder. So it looks pretty good, and it's fast, efficient. And I've seen people use Threadrippers, and Threadrippers have some issues with OBS. And of course, that's all software side, not necessarily AMD or the CPU's fault. Anyways, so we can maybe ask, if people ask, what type of build that that you recommend, and then kind of flesh out that build and why, and then like on the second half do like another segment type of thing. Like Wi-Fi is a big one. I think that the marketing for PC components is horrible, because they hype up all the stuff you don't need in order for you to keep buying and maybe upgrading.
And the thing is, too, what's really screwed up about the marketing is you walk into any Fry's, any Micro Center, everything says gaming on it. Everything.
That is definitely true.
Everything has gaming written on it. So I mean, talk about confusing. Holy crap.
Yeah, they'll have stuff that's really bad for gaming, and they just put gaming. I mean, laptops especially, they'll have like gaming laptop, and then it's basically like a GTX 1050. That's not a very good graphics card for gaming. Oh man.
For instance, I got a great one for you. I mean, look at the Ryzen motherboards. Almost every single, I'm sorry, not Ryzen, the Threadripper. The Threadripper motherboards, almost all of them say gaming on them. Why would you buy a $400 to $500 motherboard and use it for gaming? That makes absolutely no sense. That makes no sense. That's a production level board with a production level processor that really aren't designed for gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, the marketing sucks.
Yeah. And it's also incredible. There are actual people in the forums, in the hardware forums, that actually recommend these great like $400 or $500 CPUs for gaming. And it's like, no. I don't know if they're serious or they're just like shilling for Intel or AMD.
Honestly, I think they're just confused, because you don't need, I mean, if that's all you're doing, if that's really your focus, you don't need anything more than maybe a $200 processor. I mean, honestly, and you can probably even go cheaper than that. A good Ryzen 3 processor that runs maybe 150 will do just fine in the vast majority of games. I mean, you can play just about anything on it because your real horsepower is going to come from your GPU.
Like there's so many other things that I'd love for you to do. I mean, there's also photo editing, encoding, video editing, picture, photo editing, a lot of like, we're focusing on graphics cards, but audio cards are just as good, important. You know, we could always, when there's a dull moment, talk about keyboards and mice, mouse pads. I think power supply, what it all, you know, what you need. A lot of people just, things are getting so efficient. I mean, I don't think you even really need more than a 500-watt power supply these days, like a gold.
No, I completely agree. Unless you're running something really, you know, really high end, you don't need anything more than a 500.
And what's important is the voltages, not necessarily the amount of wattage that it supports, and how well it's. There's a lot of good power supply reviewers. Johnny Guru is my biggest.
Yeah, that guy is about the best.
Yeah. They'll take the entire thing apart, take pictures, run it cold, run it hot. That means cold is they just started it up. Hot is they've been running it for a couple hours.
He'll throw it in a hot box.
Yeah.
He'll throw the damn thing in a hot box.
And then you can actually see the readouts. He puts the graphs out there with his, I don't know what he uses. I haven't used them since the military days. You know what I mean? They use electronic oscilloscopes. There you go.
Oscilloscope. Yep.
So it's really good. Also, we can also talk about some of the review sites, reviewers, because there's some, like almost every review is always going to be positive. I mean, there's going to be a very minuscule. No one's going to ever review something and give it a horrible score. They're always going to put like little bits of cons, but they'll still give it a good grade, because there's so much pressure on these review sites from the manufacturers that if they don't give a good review, they just end up not giving them review samples ever again.
I'll tell you one review that kind of blew me away. I really had no idea that it was going to be that bad. Was the review of, it was a recent Cooler Master case, the HP 500, which was supposed to be a really high airflow case. And I think it was Gamers Nexus that just tore it apart. The guy had a fit. That was a good review. I mean, he really tore it apart. He had problems with just about every single part of that case. Everything from the airflow to the overall design. I thought that was one of the best reviews I've seen in a while.
Did he get any like negative like feedback from the manufacturing company, or did they get back at him
They did. They told him that they're actually taking some of his recommendations to heart, and they're going to they may change the design of the case.
That's actually awesome.
Yeah,
because usually they'll say, "Okay, you're not getting any of our products to review again."
Yeah, I was quite amazed by that. They actually said that they'll take some of his design suggestions to heart and may change some parts of the case.
This is HP, Hewlett Packard?
No. This was Cooler Master.
It's Cooler Master. Okay.
I think it was their HP 500 is the name of the case.
Okay, I like Cooler Master, but after you told me that incident, I think I'm gonna like them a little bit more because you don't see that much.
You don't see that much. That was quite impressive.
Yeah. We could actually talk about different types of manufacturers for specific component parts, how we like them, what we don't like, our experiences with them. I mean, there are certain manufacturers I stay away from. I don't know if you stay away from some of them.
There are some I do stay away from. Asus, for the most part, and it's simply because I find them to be overpriced. I don't think you're really getting what you pay for with the majority of the products, particularly anything with an ROG label on it. You're overpaying.
Yeah. For Asus, my gripe for them is customer support.
That's an issue too. I got to agree with you there. Yeah.
I have so many computer parts. I send in an RMA. They're like, dude, this guy has so many Asus parts. I don't think we should help him get an RMA because we're losing money. And I'm like, well, it's I have the serial. That's how they do their RMA. It's serial based. And I've talked for like 2 hours for representative, and I've recorded it. And so basically, I don't really buy from Asus anymore. Ace Rock is a subsidiary of Asus. Yeah, I don't like them either. I'm sorry. Horrible RMA service.
I had an ASRock board for I think it was an AMD Phenom processor that I was running. And no matter what I did, I could not get the thing to run. I couldn't get the processor to run at its rated speed. Just its stock speed, it wouldn't do it. I had to underclock the processor to get it to run. And luckily, I had a buddy who was building a similar system, and I threw my chip into his motherboard. He had no problem overclocking. Yeah. So it wasn't the processor. So I contacted ASRock directly, and they gave me nothing but the runaround. And what really kind of pissed me off, I was in Italy at the time, so I had to be up late at night to talk to these guys to get them on the phone, and they totally gave me the runaround. I was furious. I don't think I'll buy another ASRock product.
Yeah, ASRock boards work well until they go bad. Then you're kind of out of luck, even if you have a receipt with their RMA process. Early on they were okay, and then I think somehow they just kind of switched gears with Asus and just made it a lot more difficult to RMA.
Yeah.
On the other part, who I love to work with is Noctua and Snork Nose. They make these fans that are quiet. They have this
as hell, but they're quiet.
Yeah. If they break, like a blade fan breaks, they'll just send you a new one. You don't really. How are you doing? Give me a second. They just ask to send a picture, and then on the fans there's a serial, and just attach it to email, and they just send you a new one. You don't even have to pay for shipping it back. They just tell you to throw it away. They don't want you trying to fix it or ask for another one, of course. But it was just the easiest RMA service. You don't have to pay for shipping or anything. You just send them a picture and an attachment in an email, and they'll just send you a new one.
Yeah.
But those fans are expensive.
Right, and I've been on the other side. I used to be. I was a customer support and hardware rep for SwiftTech, and I handled all their RMAs. I was their RMA manager. So I've been on the other side. I know how it can be to, deal with customers. And I'll tell you, the thing that you have to do, treat them like you'd want to be treated. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, if you've got somebody on the phone who's had a horrible experience, take care of them. Just do whatever you can to make everything right. You know, I mean, we had one guy. He obviously did not really know what he was doing, and he managed to he killed his motherboard in the process. He was trying to test things out, and he managed to spill some coolant on it, and he ended up killing his motherboard. I said, dude, I'm sorry. If you'd called us, I could have walked you through it, and we could have prevented the damage. I said, but I'll tell you what. I mean, I'll replace the cooler for you. We'll replace the components. He's like, yeah, he kind of had a problem with it at first, but when I explained everything to him, he was like, yeah, I realized it was kind of my fault. He realized he'd kind of screwed up, but he was a repeat customer because we replaced the parts for him.
And that's good. I mean, because even if people hear that story of what a corporate company does, people are going to be like, that's cool. I like them. I'm going to order from them next time. You know, I think what I like about the social media aspect of and the forums is you actually hear from people their good or bad experiences, and because otherwise you just don't know. You don't know. So it's good that people speak out, and it's a lot like the political world. It's a lot like everything else.
It is. It is.
It's a lot like the news world too, because they'll like certain forums would set up. Certain manufacturers would have their own forums where you could sign up on. Sometimes they'll not respond, or they will respond. So you want to see how they respond to actual users. Right. Otherwise, you'd have to go to like an outside place like overclock.net, things like that to report it. And then, but what's also great about overclock.net, they have people from different customer service representatives from different manufacturers over at overclock.net looking at any mention of like their company, and like especially if there's problems, and they'll respond. And you'll see that even in Amazon sometimes they'll go on Amazon and Newegg saying, oh, you've got one of our products, you have issues. If you give a 1-star to like a legitimate 1 or 2-star review, they'll come and help you without you even contacting customer service. Or
but I didn't know about that until I worked for SwiftTech. It's extremely expensive for that service. It's not cheap to be registered on Newegg so that you receive and can reply to customer reviews. It's very costly. I think the last time I looked at it was, the last time I heard about it was something like $1,500 a month. $1,500 a month for that ability. That's a lot of money. So when you've got a manufacturer that views that as being that important to invest that kind of money into it, that's awesome, because that means that they give a damn.
All right, so it's been an hour. Do you want to keep going, or do you want to sign off? And
I'll go ahead and sign off. If anybody has suggestions for what kind of build they'd like me to discuss in the next video, go ahead and post it, and I'll look at all of them, and we'll see what we can put together for you. And I'll go ahead and research the parts and tell you exactly what I think you would need for that kind of system. Okay.
Do you want them to contact you on Twitter?
You can contact me on Twitter, or you can post it right in the comment section of the video.
And what time are you gonna have your show on? Is it gonna be at 4 p.m. Eastern time every Saturday?
Same time every Saturday.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. Everyone. That's awesome. I like the show. I like it.
I do too. This is gonna be good.
Take care, everybody. Thanks, Brian.
Okay.
Thanks.
See y'all soon.